Good afternoon and welcome to Football League World TV. My name's Ned Holmes and I'm joined by my colleague Billy Mulley for the League Two half-season awards. We've gone through the Championship and League One, and League Two is our focus today. How are you doing, Billy?
Doing very well, thank you. As you say, yeah, we've done Championship, League One, and I think League Two. I think when it comes down to it, is one of the most difficult leagues to place names at the moment because it's been extremely competitive for all the categories we're going to go through, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this season there's been a lot of talk sort of about how open and competitive League One and the Championship are. That that sort of there's so many teams in those playoff races, and perhaps that means League Two is flown under the radar a bit more than it usually does. But it's certainly been an intriguing first half of the campaign, which has made choosing these sort of award winners a pleasure, but as you say, a difficulty just because there were so many players that really could win the award. Just to run through the categories, first of all, we'll start with best signing and then move to breakthrough player, surprise package, best goalkeeper, best defender, best midfielder, best striker, and finally best player. But before we get started, a reminder as ever just to like the video and subscribe to Football League World TV on YouTube, and also to let us know your thoughts, your sort of award winners, your suggestions, and then any other questions or sort of comments you want to make via the comments, because it really is about fan involvement. We start then with the best signing, Billy, and it's the only name on the list that me and you have both picked, which is I guess a nice bit of difference. Who have you gone for and why?
So best signing, I've gone for Harry Smith. Obviously made the move in the summer, joined Leyton Orient, and what he's done is he's started the season as sort of the out-and-out striker, playing in sort of a 3-4-3 formation, and with wingers playing off him. And now he's adapted and he's working with Aaron Drinan working off Smith, sort of working off the physicality that Smith brings, and he's shone sort of through those both transitional periods. Really, you think of he's 6'5", he scored a few goals before, but he's added different parts to his game at Leyton Orient. I think he's been able to drop in and connect the play, but he's also always there in the right position to score goals. And I think it's a given that his physicality is always going to win in the battle against defenders. But yeah, I think the fact that he's added all these different elements to his game and they're all sort of combining now to sort of see him as one of the best players in the division, I think that's quite good for Leyton Orient to see. I think he does get good service at Leyton Orient, perhaps enhances how we view him. But I think he's a player that could be vital for Leyton Orient as the season continues. And the fact that he did leave and Leyton Orient were able to pick him up, I think is an absolute steal. And I think that's sort of the connection that him and Drinan are starting to get now. I think that can only bode well for the future at Leyton Orient. And we speak a lot about the sort of difficulties Leyton Orient have in terms of picking up too many draws. Well, I think with Drinan and Smith up top together, I think that's going to be key for turning those sort of 1 points into 3.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think I'll be honest to say, and I sort of said this a few times on Football League World TV early in the season, I wasn't too sure when they brought him in the summer, but he certainly proved me wrong. I think players like Drinan and Archibald around him, there's obviously quality, but what I think has made him so important is the way he knits together the side. He's that real focal point, and you're always going to need a bit of sort of directness and physicality in the fourth tier, and Harry Smith does that almost better than anyone, really. I think he's a fantastic signing, and on his day, I mean, I was there for the Sutton United game, sort of, I think last month, maybe October, and it was really sort of a destructive performance from him. I think 2 goals and an assist in the end, but yeah, for me, just a fantastic signing, and one that's sort of looks set to be a real sort of key figure in Orient's promotion push this season. We're on to sort of breakthrough player in League Two at the half-season point. Then, Billy, who have you gone for and why?
Sorry, was this the surprise package, did you say?
The breakthrough player.
Breakthrough. It's quite difficult because, as we said before, I didn't want to overlap any players. There's a few players that I feel that could have been named in quite a lot of categories that we got. But for me, I think Connor Taylor of Bristol Rovers has been really, really good. I think he's shown sort of all the attributes you want from a central defender. You think he's only 20 years old. The physicality already possesses is incredible. He's only going to sort of grow in stature, grow in importance as the years progress. And I think that the talk at the moment is that Stoke are considering recalling him. So I think that's a credit to how brilliant he has been at Bristol Rovers so far this season, how highly Stoke regard him. You think that at Stoke at the moment with Harry Souttar out for a long time, they could quite easily delve into the market and invest in a player that could come in and do the job, but they're actually looking towards their 20-year-old centre-back who's currently on loan in League Two, which I think is a big positive for them. Big credit to how he started this season. And he's not playing the odd game for Bristol Rovers. He's integral to that squad. Joey Barton has hailed his performances a lot in his post-match press conferences as well. So in that respect, he's a player that's winning the admiration of a lot at the moment. And I think if he does go back to Stoke, it might take a while for him to cement himself into the first team setup. But given sort of Stoke's stance when it comes to young centre-backs, you think Harry Souttar himself, you think Leo Ostergaard, Ben Wilmot, they will always trust those sort of young centre-backs, and he's displaying every trait at the moment that sort of deserves to be included in a championship squad.
Absolutely, certainly an impressive start for Connor Taylor at Bristol City. I've gone for another loanee in Jack Diamond at Harrogate Town. I think we spoke yesterday, me and Chris spoke yesterday about one Sunderland youngster having a breakthrough season in Dan Neil, and for me, Diamond, he deserves the nod at League Two. I think he's just been fantastic since joining Harrogate. I think it's 6 goals and 4 assists. And last season we sort of saw glimpses of his quality, but it didn't seem to be quite fully there, not for him at League One level, and it didn't quite fully click. And I think this season, we can safely say he's arrived. And whether he stays on past January, he's another one, as you said, with Taylor, that's been linked with a sort of move back to his parent club. Whether he stays on past January, returns to Sunderland, I'm really excited to see sort of how he progresses as a player, because I feel like he's really sort of found himself in senior football now, and it's been a really sort of exciting start to the season for him. It's the surprise package next up for us. But just a reminder first for any EFL fans watching to sort of submit your suggestions for any half-season awards that you might have. So before I get started on sort of my surprise package, we'll come to you first, Billy. Who have you gone for?
I've gone for Sutton's David Ajiboye. I think just given the impact he's made this season, considering he's had to step a level up. I think it was 5 goals from 39 appearances last season, only 1 or 2 assists. But this season, he's already on 6 goals and a couple of assists. So already shows that he's made the step up. He's already improved last season's totals. And in terms of general attacking third play, he's been very, very important for them. You could probably argue that a lot of Sutton players could come into this category because they are the surprise package of the division. I know they won the league last year, but they've had to adapt to a new playing surface, which can't have been easy. Obviously, they've never been in this division before, so it's a big step up for them. And to be sitting in the automatic promotion positions is a massive credit. And it's players like Ajiboye who has adapted seamlessly and is sort of... He's let the division know and let probably the higher divisions know that he is a very good player and he can go on to have a very good future. So yeah, he's one player, a very exciting winger that could go on to have a really big future in the English game.
Absolutely, certainly Sutton United in general a surprise package, and as you say, he's really seemed to thrive at a higher level, which is certainly promising for them moving forward. I've gone for Dom Telford at Newport. I think he's bounced around the EFL a little over the past few years, and bar sort of one pretty impressive season at Bury, hasn't really done too much of note. And I sort of with Smith, I wasn't too taken by the signing when they brought him in last January, and sort of felt that was justified when I guess he didn't pull up trees the second half of the season for Newport. But I mean, what we've seen since October has really just been phenomenal. Bags of confidence and the goals to go with it. I think it's 15 in 17 games now, which is a remarkable scoring record when you look at, I guess, his record throughout the majority of the rest of his career. I mean, it's that sort of those goals and that form that has sort of Newport right up the top of the table and a playoff contender, and they'll continue to be that as he continues to score. I mean, I know Billy, he's a player that you're fond of, but for me, he was the surprise package this season. We move to the positional awards now, and first up with the goalkeeper, Billy. Billy, who's your pick between the sticks?
I struggled between two. I have to first shout out Cameron Dawson, because he has been excellent. Definitely staking his claim to get back into the Sheffield Wednesday setup should he return. But for me, Lawrence Figaro of Leyton Orient just about edges it. 7 clean sheets this season, only 3 goalkeepers ahead of him. And when you think of the sort of attacking style that Leyton Orient operating, that's quite good, because they're similar to QPR in terms of they play this expansive, nice brand of attacking football, but they do commit bodies forward, and I think that places a lot of emphasis on their defence and on their goalkeepers. So to keep 7 clean sheets and to be sort of at the top end of the clean sheets table, I think is very, very good from Figaro so far. I think he's a player that can play out from the back. He's a good footballer first and foremost. So you always, as a fan, you'd be composed and you'd be confident when he's in possession that he can start play and sort of, even when pressed, he can continue to play the ball out from the back. But he's also a really good shot stopper. He's shown that, I think, watching some of the highlights from Leyton Orient this season, some of the saves he's made is not really League Two level. It's a lot higher. So for that reason, I think that Figaro definitely deserves a place in this team, just about edging out Cameron Dawson.
Absolutely. Figaro, certainly, as you say, his shot-stopping ability is remarkable. I think I've seen him against, as I said, Sutton United and QPR and 2 fantastic performances there. But I've gone for the man that you sort of gave a mention to before you revealed your pick. That's Cameron Dawson at Exeter City. I think this could have been the best signing, because he's proven such a phenomenal acquisition, really. I mean, a couple of difficult seasons at Wednesday where there seemed to be opportunities and then there weren't, and I think it's turned out that getting away from Wednesday, even though it's just on loan, it has turned out to be exactly what he's needed. I mean, he's really shown his quality, I think, at League Two level. As you touched on with Figaro, some remarkable saves at points, some great penalty saves as well, and for me, just deserving of the award at the halfway point of the season, and someone that Exeter will be hoping can sort of play a massive role in that promotion push moving forward. Best defender up next then, Billy. Who have you gone for?
So again, I sort of narrowed it down to 2 players, both actually at Swindon Town as well. So it was, it sort of scoped it down to these 2 players. I think Odomeo deserves a shout, because it does seem, although when I've watched him, he hasn't been as good as the player I've selected. It seems within the Swindon faithful that this player, that Odomeo, has had a really good season so far. But for me, Romany Critchlow has been brilliant on loan from Huddersfield, and he's a player that I saw against Stevenage, and he just showed not glimpses. He showed all game that he was a quality player and deserves to be playing at a higher level should that opportunity arise soon. I think he's got a massive future ahead of him, a big physical presence, but also someone that's got a really, really high technical ability. Obviously a player in that Swindon side, the way they operate, they like to get the ball down and play, and he's someone that represents that very well. 22 years of age, so he's got a really, really big future ahead of him. As I said, all the physical attributes needed to excel as a top championship defender, because I think that's sort of the aspirations he'll have come next season at Huddersfield. But at the moment, he seems to be a really exciting player, and I think there's always, when operating as sort of the left-sided centre-back in a back 3, I think for some reason it always seems a lot better. I don't know why. Just sort of when you think about other players that operate in that kind of position, that they always seem to shine and have that sort of ability and confidence to come forward and get into midfield areas and advance the play from there. So, yeah, I think in terms of centre-backs, I think Swindon are very well stocked at the moment. Critchlow, for me, just about edges it.
Yeah, I mean, I've gone for a defender sort of the other end of the scale in terms of their point in his career, much more established, but someone as well that, as you said, with Critchlow, sort of represents the style of play that his side have sort of had success with this season. That's John Guthrie at Northampton. I mean, really the definition of an asset in both boxes. Obviously, their success this season, the Cobblers, has been built around that strong defence. I think that it's the second. They've got the second best defensive record in the division, only after Tranmere, who are continuing to defy expected goals. But it's also been their threat at set pieces, Northampton, that's helped them, make such a strong start to the season. And Guthrie, key to their defensive success and their success in the opposition box. 5 goals and an assist, shows what a threat he is. But he's also a hugely commanding presence at centre back. A different player, certainly a different sort of player as a centre back than Critchlow, but in my eyes, just as deserving for this award. We're on to the midfielders then, Billy. Who have you gone for as your best midfielder and why?
Yeah, again, a very difficult category to choose from. A lot of League Two midfielders this season deserving to be mentioned here. But for me, outright best midfielder this season has to be Matt Jay. Obviously been a big part of Exeter's sort of surge up the table again. Think of when they went on a really good unbeaten run again. He was scoring a lot of goals and was central to their success around that period. 10 goals and 2 assists for a midfielder. I know he does play a bit more advanced, but it's still an incredible return to be on 10 goals at this stage of the season, be well on for 20 if he keeps up this form. So yeah, I think in terms of the impact he has in the final third and sort of his work rate, his intelligence, his desire to win the ball back, he's not just confined to his goal scoring and contributing abilities. I think there's a lot to be excited for in terms of for Exeter in what remains of the season. He's been doing it for a while now, but they'd be a little bit cautious that there has been a bit of Championship and League One interest in him, and quite rightly so, because he has been brilliant. I think also Alex Patterson has to be in contention. Also a very similar player in terms of the impact that he's had in the sort of the final third, but also can impact games from a little bit deeper. And Port Vale's Tom Conlon as well is a little bit different in terms of playing a little bit deeper than the 2 players mentioned below, but a brilliant technical ability and reads the game very well. A very, very good player as well. But it has to be Matt Jay for me, a very good player that's destined for higher level football.
Certainly hard to argue with Matt Jay as the best midfielder, but I've gone for one of the guys you mentioned there, and that's Port Vale's Tom Conlon. For me, I mean, if we're talking about as central midfielders in League Two go, Conlon for me is about as close to perfect as you're going to get at that level. I think he just gives you a bit of everything, but as you said, such a good reader of the game and so the sort of player I'm convinced that every manager would love to have in their side. Fantastic in possession, a threat going forward, as well as those 4 goals, 5 assists show, and a real asset defensively as well. Not afraid to get stuck in as you need in in League Two as well, and obviously not to mention he's the captain as well and a real leader. I was shocked. I've been shocked over the last few seasons that he's remained at Port Vale, but he's still there now. And if I was a Championship or even a League One or even a Championship club, I'd be keeping a close eye on him. I think Tom Conlon is just a fantastic midfielder and the best in the division at the halfway point for me. We're on to our penultimate award next then, Billy. It's best striker. Lots to choose from in League Two this season. Who have you gone for then?
I've gone for the man you mentioned a little bit ago, Dom Telford. I think he's been in frightening form this season. Someone that I didn't expect to have this much effect. I've always believed in him as a player. I've always thought he's shown glimpses of his quality. But as you said, I think it's 15 goals in 17 games this season is just a real indicator of how far he's progressed and the impact he's having this season. I think he's a forward that's certainly displayed that he knows where the goal is. Sort of the different types of goals he scores as well just shows his excellence in front of goal. He's a player that's not just confined to tap-ins. He can strike the ball from far out and get the sort of the same reward as well. So there's a lot to be excited for as the season progresses. I think as well in terms of his forward play, he's not someone that just operates on the shoulder and looks to score goals that way. He'll drop in, link the play. And he's very intelligent, and he's a player that I don't think we can consider him young anymore as he moves to sort of 25 years of age. But he's a player that's got scope to progress and keep on going with his career. I don't think League Two. I don't think he'll be playing League Two football for too much longer. I think he can make the step up to League One and to a decent League One side as well. I think he can be a top player in the third tier as his career progresses.
Absolutely. Well, you talked about that, someone that perhaps we could expect to see, a lot of progression from, slightly towards perhaps the twilight of his career now. It is my pick. Maybe that's a little bit harsh on Jamil Matt, but 32 now, but I mean, still a dominant force in League Two. Obviously, Forest Green, a force to be reckoned with going forward this season, top of the league, and their attacking football has been a joy to watch, and so many weapons. But for me, Jamil Matt, sort of the jewel in the crown, just such a well-rounded forward at a League Two level, and 14 goals, 7 assists. It's a ridiculous record, and on course to surpass his own sort of single season tally record that he set for last season. I think not quite at the level of Alexander Mitrovic, but a player that when he's on song, I just feel like defenses at this level just can't stop him, and there's a similarity to be drawn there. And for me, certainly the deserving winner of the best striker award at the halfway point. And I'll be very interested to see, sort of as I touched on before, with the amount of striking talent that there is in League Two this season, who we name as the best one, the best striker when we get to the end of the season. Finally, then, Billy, it's the big one. At the half-season point in League Two, who's your best player?
Well, I think we have to be sticking with Forest Green there. You said Jamil Matt. I think Matty Stevens as well has been excellent in terms of he's another player, a little bit like Telford, that can progress into a player that can play a lot higher level than League Two. Obviously shown that with his goals and movement this season. But for me, just about edging it's Nicky Cadden on the left flank. Made that position very much his own, scoring 6 goals and 6 assists whilst providing defensive stability, midfield sort of pressure and guile there. And yeah, as we said before, he gets to the byline and he's brilliant from that left wing area. So yeah, he's a player that's progressing really, really well at Forest Green. I don't think he's the sole reason why they're so successful this season. As I mentioned before, that there's quite a lot of Forest Green players that could be mentioned for this Best Player award, but he's a vital component to what they are doing at the moment. And it just seems at Forest Green that everything's working, all positions, everyone's excelling, and they deserve to be where they are. And Cadden is a player again that could progress with them higher. Should they get promotion this year, he's a player that could shine for them next year and make even more marks on League One.
Absolutely, yeah. As you sort of touched on there, almost 3 players in one. Nicky Cadden for Forest Green this season. I'm going back to Tom Conlon for my pick. I just think he offers so much to that Port Vale side. Help them play up, help them stay up in his first season at the club, and then a few seasons of sort of establishing themselves at this level, and now a promotion push, and he's been at the core of that throughout. A fantastic midfielder, a proper leader, and as you touched on with Cadden there, I think if Port Vale were to go up, I think in Conlon they'd have a player that would be not just able to play at League One level, I think able to thrive. And I'd be surprised if whether with Port Vale or another club, this isn't Tom Conlon's last sort of season at League Two, and I think League Two fans really should be making the most of that. Well, that's everything from us on the Football League World League Two half-season awards for today. No more shows on Football League World TV today, but tomorrow myself and Sam will be previewing what's left of the Boxing Day fixtures as more cancellations start to come in. But just finally, just to say thank you to Billy, and thanks everyone for watching.